Beryl is already regenerating in the Gulf of Mexico with its sights set on the western Gulf Coast. We'll look at the timing and the impacts expected and the rain chance across the Caribbean and the Bahamas right now.
This is Meteo Mundo.
Hi everyone, Rusty back here at Meteo Mundo. It is good to see you on this midday Saturday. Coming up, of course, I've got all the newest information on Beryl. We'll take a look at what's happening with Beryl right now, the forecast track and the expected impacts for the western Gulf Coast. We're going to look at the situation across the Caribbean and the Bahamas on this Saturday. We'll look at the rain chance in your area over the next several days, and if there's any other tropical areas of interest. A couple of programming notes. The 24/7 live stream will return on this Saturday here, and then throughout the impacts of Beryl until I go live. I am going to be covering Beryl live here on Meteo Mundo, more than likely starting Monday morning, but we'll talk much more about the live stream and the timing of that as we get a little bit better idea of the timing of Beryl closer to the Texas coast. So let's start off this video. Right now we're looking at Beryl, and just over the last couple of hours, Beryl has really regenerated in the Gulf of Mexico. Now look, we're going to get into the weeds on Beryl, and I have all the newest information coming up. But the first thing I want to do in this video is talk about what's happening here and now across the Caribbean and the Bahamas. Then we're going to get into the forecast, including Beryl. But again, Beryl is already beginning to redevelop some thunderstorms there in the southwest Gulf. Now, other areas are going to be impacted by some rain. That's why I want to talk about this first, because we do have what's left over of 96L moving through the western side of the Caribbean. So our friends in places like Jamaica, which were severely impacted by Beryl, are getting additional showers and some storms already on this Saturday, and more showers and storms are likely through the afternoon hours. There will be some heavier rain from time to time. There'll be some lightning. And again, overall, a relatively higher chance for storms in this area. And just the Western Caribbean in general, Cuba then on off towards Central America as well. Note the rain moving back into coastal Honduras near Roatan, with additional showers and storms for Guatemala and Belize. This is an area where the rain chance will increase throughout the weekend and early next week. We had some heftier rain in portions of the Hispaniola yesterday. I expect more scattered showers and storms today. It will be somewhat, area dependent. These are not going to be widespread storms, but some heavy rain and some lightning will accompany those. Same thing for portions of the Turks and the Caicos. Relatively quiet right now in Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands, but scattered storms are expected here today. Better chance for some rain for this area, and then the Lesser Antilles in general tomorrow, as we get a tropical wave to move back in and increase the tropical moisture. This is also an area from Anguilla south that has been dealing with a little bit of the Saharan dust layer as well, so a bit of haze in the sky. But for this Saturday, I do expect a relatively quiet day throughout the island chain, including Martinique, St. Lucia, Barbados, on over towards Grenada, Trinidad, and Tobago. Here's our next tropical wave, guys. This one is not expected to develop, but it is an axis of more moisture that'll be coming back in and throwing the rain chances higher. And again, we'll look at that here in the video as we move forward. ABC Islands are forecast to remain basically dry. I mean, unfortunately, that's a forecast we've had lately. An isolated, and I do mean an isolated shower or storm is possible here, but not expecting much there. And our friends in the Bahamas will continue to enjoy some very hot but relatively tranquil conditions, with just an isolated shower or storm chance in that area over the next several days as well. Okay, let's get back into, again, Beryl. So we'll start with what's happening right now with Beryl, taking a look again at the satellite imagery over the last few hours. Now, earlier today, take a look at that. Beryl absolutely had a completely exposed inner core. I mean, it did not look very good, as a lot of dry air came in on the south and the western sides. And you can clearly see that in the the water vapor imagery here with that upper level low just off the Mexican coastline. It is moving away, but Beryl did ingest a lot of dry air, and obviously the friction over the Yucatan really knocked it down. That being said, in just the last couple of hours here on this midday Saturday, there's already been a big blow up of thunderstorms near that inner core, and the weakening of Beryl has stopped. The Hurricane Hunter reconnaissance aircraft, which have gotten in there, have now seen leveled off pressure. So I think we've hit the rock bottom of what Beryl is going to be. Now it's all about how quickly Beryl re-intensifies. Unfortunately, seeing this deep convection already in Beryl is well ahead of what most models had. Some models had that developing later today. Some models like the GFS didn't really have that inner core blow up of convection until early on our Sunday. So once again, Beryl outperforming the models already. Now, it's in a weaker state than what was expected. Winds are 60 miles an hour. It is a tropical storm, but all signs point, of course, to Beryl continuing to get stronger as it gets closer to the Texas coastline. Let's take a look at the newest track information from the Hurricane Center. And again, the official track is north and west, and it becoming a hurricane. Now, we'll delve into the models and kind of, what we think we know and what is still much up in the air, but we still have a forecast hurricane from the Hurricane Center by late tomorrow night, and then early on Sunday, moving on shore somewhere between Corpus Christi and maybe Port O'Connor. But of course, even that is much up in the air here. And there is a certain scenario that I'm concerned about, that Beryl parallels a lot of the Texas coast before it moves inland and potentially has a very impactful storm surge that comes along with the paralleling of the coastline. But again, from the Hurricane Center, officially highest end Category 1, winds of 85 miles an hour. That is the latest track information. And again, you can see that, first of all, a lot of the Texas coastline is under a hurricane watch at this point in time. Moving inland sometime the first half of Monday would be dependent, obviously, on the forward speed and how far north Beryl goes, and then moving into East Texas and then up towards Arklatex and then into the mid-Mississippi River Valley before it's all said and done. But again, looking at Beryl's current watches and warnings. Hurricane watch is in effect from the Texas coast, the mouth of the Rio Grande north to the San Luis Pass. Tropical storm warning is in effect from the South Texas coast, south of Baffin Bay to the mouth of the Rio Grande. So the southernmost area of Texas is under both a tropical storm warning and a hurricane watch. And then that tropical storm warning goes south from the north Mexican coastline from Barra El Mezquital to the Rio Grande. So again, very far northern sides of Mexico, and then portions of South Texas under both the tropical storm warning and the hurricane watch. Again, kind of taking a look at things here, and I'm going to switch over to our wind vector product, and then we're going to get into the models. The biggest concern here that I have as far as the potential track of Beryl in regards to the storm surge is going to be a possibility that this track is going to try and parallel the coastline for a while. Now, we're never going to know until the end exactly where Beryl is going to come on shore, okay? And let me dump a little bit of this information because it's just going to be a little bit easier for you guys to see. So on this model, you can see this track coming up closer to the southern coast of Texas, but how quickly it moves inland compared to how quickly or how much it goes up the coast, because on the northern side, all you're going to have is onshore winds. And if Beryl wants to parallel the coastline longer, and you can see the hurricane force winds there in the orange, but if Beryl wants to parallel the coastline a little bit longer, it's going to take all of that storm surge and push it farther and farther north. And the problem with that is already we now have storm surge potential up to Galveston Bay. So we have to keep a very close eye on that. Let's delve into the models. Now look, overall, it's a decent scenario compared to yesterday for the models. All models are a little bit weaker with Beryl, but we know one thing the models have not had a good handle on, and that's the intensity of Beryl. I mean, again, already it's showing more signs of life than we expected on this midday Saturday. So if we look at the European model, today compared to yesterday, a pressure moving inland, again, somewhere between Corpus Christi and Port O'Connor, but that is not definitive by any means. Pressure's 980. Yesterday it was 969. Again, lower numbers on the pressure is a stronger hurricane, typically means stronger winds, just a deeper area of low pressure near the center. But again, it's a fully mature cyclone. Nothing has Beryl falling apart. It's just about how much more it's going to strengthen. And we know how many hurricanes in the past 5 years or so have rapidly strengthened just before landfall. As an example, 2 years ago, Hurricane Ian off the southwest coast of Florida. I know there's plenty of other examples. You can drop those in the comments section below. If we look at the Icon model, which again had a good handle on Beryl, it is also weaker today as well. It's also farther west. It was much closer to Galveston Bay yesterday. Now it's right in that kind of heart of where the models are in general here. And again, a weaker overall storm, also in those low 980 pressures. And again, yesterday it was in the high 960s. It's about the same climb as what the European model had. If we look at the HAFS model, these are sustained winds. Apologize. Let me get myself off camera. I've stopped it right at landfall. It has winds, again, maximum of about 85 miles an hour. So they're all about the same. But again, all of them rapidly intensify, Beryl, as it gets closer to the Texas coast early on Monday morning. This, by the way, would be 7 a.m. Monday morning here. So again, we're honing in on the timing as well. Impacts likely late Sunday or early overnight Monday, but really start to see the core of Beryl get closer to the Texas coast as we get towards daybreak on Monday. And again, is there that potential that it slides farther up the coast? Absolutely. This is the HAFS reflectivity model. So you just saw the wind field. This is the reflectivity. And again, look at the wrap up of Beryl right before it moves inland. And that's going to be the concern. We're not going to know this, friends, until right at the 11th hour, just how strong Beryl could get. I'm talking within the last 3 to 6 hours before Beryl moves inland. This is a very potentially impactful storm for the entire Texas coastline. Areas south of Corpus Christi right now would not get the storm surge as areas north, but all the way from the Corpus Christi Bay to Galveston Bay could have some very extensive rainfall, some very extensive storm surge, and obviously hurricane wind damage. And we're just going to see how strong Beryl might end up getting. So let's talk about those potential impacts. They have not changed from the Hurricane Center compared to yesterday. Again, I don't really want to start talking about what kind of hurricane force winds I think we're going to see. I think still category 1, 2, potentially even a low in category 3 is in play. It's not probable, but it's not non-zero either, right? Again, that bombing up of Beryl right before landfall is still a potential, especially again, because it's already outperforming the models this morning and this afternoon. So we'll have to see if the models pick up on that for subsequent runs. Storm surge of 3 to 5 feet through a lot of the Texas coast. That's going to be a big problem, friends. Rainfall of 5 to 10 inches, potentially locally up to 15. Beryl will slow down once it moves inland, but it's still going to have enough forward speed. We're not talking about feet of rain, but this is still a big issue. Flash and urban flooding will come along with that rain. And then obviously surf and sea conditions are going to be outrageous, large swells, dangerous surf, and rip currents. Notice now on the peak storm surge, the Hurricane Center has extended this well up to the North Texas coast. So it does include Galveston Bay all the way there to High Island and then all the way back down to the mouth of the Rio Grande. But again, focused Baffin Bay north, including Corpus Christi Bay and of course Matagorda Bay as well. Matagorda Bay is obviously near where the center may pass, including the Port O'Connor area. But everyone along the Texas coast needs to stay extremely vigilant here. And again, details will become more refined, especially later today and tomorrow as we go through this. Now, again, I do appreciate all the support. Thank you for finding us here. If you're getting something out of this video, thank you for liking it. Thank you for subscribing to Meteo Mundo if you want all the newest details on Beryl and the forecast across the Caribbean. Thank you for sharing this video. And again, thank you for finding all the ways that you can help support us here at Meteo Mundo. So that is the latest on Beryl, friends. And again, we're going to have our 24/7 live stream up and running. You can follow it live. And I will be going live, just like I did for the Windward Islands and Jamaica. And we'll talk about the timing of that as we get a little bit closer to Monday morning. Let's talk about the rainfall forecast here for the rest of our area over the next 5 days. So the first thing I want to look at here is the Windward Islands, because the GFS model is the model that extends down into this area. Now, I do expect some scattered showers to be coming in with this next tropical wave beginning tomorrow. It's going to be kind of a maximum of some rain in these areas on our Sunday and then a tailing off after that in general. Now, the GFS model does pick up on that. You can see that rain moving through here as we go through time. Today is the 6th, so on the 7th, we get a little bit more showers for Trinidad and Tobago and Barbados. But overall, generally speaking, the GFS model has not handled the rainfall in this area well with this newest tropical wave. So I'm actually going to switch over now to the NAM model, and we'll take a look at that. Again, the NAM model just doesn't have its domain is just not into the Windward Islands. You can see the cutoff right there. So I wanted to show you that. on the GFS. Elsewhere, again, I believe that the NAM model has a better handle. So we're going to watch this tropical wave come in with better rain chances for all of the Lesser Antilles and then some of the Greater Antilles as well. Again, it's not going to stick around. It's going to have some forward speed. We're not expecting any development out of this, but I do expect there to be improving rain chances. So if you've been dry, you needed some rain in the Leeward Islands and portions of the Greater Antilles and the Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico and even the Turks and the Caicos, there's at least a better opportunity coming. Again, fast moving system moving through the Caribbean, not expecting development, but I'm keeping a very close eye. We're also going to see some rain trying to wrap around and get towards Bermuda. Relatively speaking, the Bahamas will be dry the next couple of days, although we could see a little bit more moisture dive in from the north here as we get into Tuesday and Wednesday. So it's going to be a little bit better chances for places like Freeport and Nassau, Lucaya, the north and the western areas of the Bahamas, maybe even to the central Bahamas as well. And then for our friends in the Central America, Yucatan Peninsula area, I have no idea what I was just trying to say right there. I think Yucatan Coast. It came out like toast, but that's okay. Again, we still have our Central American gyre that's still in play, right? So it's still a feature that will impact the weather. You can see the spiraling up here. So as this next surge of tropical moisture comes in, the rain chances will continue to break out and improve. And again, this is an area that, relatively speaking, will be wet over the next 5 days. It's not as wet pre-Beryl, right, where we were just seeing tons of rain and a lot of flooding, but it is still an area with high rain chances each and every afternoon. ABC Islands will be relatively dry, and then in the longer term, friends, at least for now, we're a little bit more quiet in the Atlantic Basin. There's another tropical wave that's just trying to move off of the West African coast as we speak, and that's something I'll monitor, but at least in the Western Atlantic, besides this tropical wave coming in tomorrow, nothing at least over the next 5 days. So breaking down your rain chance, the Bahamas, again, relatively dry over the next 3 days. I do expect the rain chance to start up and go higher on Tuesday. That'll be the same for the central and portions of the southeast Bahamas, Turks and Caicos, a few isolated showers here and there. Cuba will have the highest rain chances today and tomorrow with that 96L, what was left of it, moving through and then drop off their rain chance on Monday. Same thing for the Cayman Islands. Again, high rain chances there for today and portions of tomorrow, and then drier on Monday, whereas Belize City will start to pick up that moisture really in earnest on Sunday and Monday, but relatively high rain chances. And again, Cancun and Cozumel, after drying out a bit after Beryl, we'll see a 50% chance for storms Sunday and Monday. For Jamaica, it's a 60% chance for today, but thankfully a little bit drier weather coming Sunday and Monday. Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, they're going to range in that 30, 40, 50% chance range, but again, a little bit highlighted for tomorrow and then falling off a bit on Monday, but still expect some isolated to scattered storms. Bermuda, just a few showers out there, mainly tomorrow and Monday. Anguilla will again start to see the rain chance go higher as the impacts of the tropical wave. Same thing for our friends in St. Kitts and Nevis. Then down the island chain, Antigua, Barbuda, again, relatively dry today through the islands. Higher rain chances on Sunday and Monday. It'll be a little bit drier for St. Lucia and Barbados on Monday. Antigua, Barbuda stay a little bit wetter. Grenada again as well, a maximum tomorrow, 30% chance on Monday. Trinidad, Tobago, relatively dry here, but a little bit more moisture to play with down in this area, so a 40% chance. Nueva Esparta will catch some isolated showers again, maybe a little bit more widespread Sunday and Monday. And again, our friends in Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao will continue to, unfortunately, be relatively high and dry. Friends, you can follow us across all of social media. Thank you for sending all the pictures and videos to mymediamundo@gmail.com. You can find us on Instagram, TikTok, X, and Facebook. Again, we do some exclusive content on TikTok, and the video yesterday has had nearly 50,000 views on TikTok. We appreciate the support across all of our social media platforms. All right, friends, again, one last check. We're going to be keeping a very close eye on Hurricane Beryl. If you know anyone in this area, make sure they're aware, make sure you're preparing, make sure you're checking in with local officials, and of course, I'll keep you up to date here as well. Have a great rest of your Saturday. Friends, I'll see you soon right here at Media Mundo.